Hi, I'm Betsy Bangley. I'm looking forward to painting nature outside with you. First, I wanted to introduce you to a couple of techniques that will be useful to you that you can play with between now and then. Now, when we're doing these little techniques, what you're going to need is a piece of paper that you've taped the edges, and I simply have a piece of cardboard. You might, whatever you've got handy. Tape it so that you have 6 kind of window panes that you can work in, okay? And then you need your paints, 2 containers of water, your rag, and your brushes, some sort of a micron pen, or I have a fountain pen, anything, a Sharpie, something with permanent ink, or simply use a black colored pencil if you like. And then a little bit of table salt. Really any kind of salt will do. All right, and then, oh yes, also a little bit of paper toweling. So to start with, if you're new to watercolors, something you might not be aware of is how to make the watercolors lighter or darker. We simply, let's see, we're gonna drip our water in there, get it ready. We simply use more paint to make it darker, make it kind of a thicker, more intense mix, like so. Let's make it even darker. Look at this. Yeah, so that's a very nice dark value. Look at how juicy that is. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna just rinse out and just add a little water. A little bit of water. Whee! And the lighter I get, as I come down here, the more water I add, the lighter it gets. You see? Notice wherever I pick up the brush, I end up with kind of a little splodge. I can come back in with just a sort of damp brush and pick that up if I want. Move that around a little bit. But there you have it. Darker is more paint, lighter is more water. Okay. Now we also like to think about the sorts of edges that we create in our paintings. If we simply leave this paint to dry here, this little splodge of purple, because purple is awesome. If we leave that to dry, that's going to make a hard, really defined edge. And maybe that's what we want. But maybe it's not what we want. So let's lift that out. And we could come along with our brush later and kind of soften things up if we wanted. Or we could simply take some clean water from our clean container of water and wet the whole entire little window there. And then get a really nice, rich, dark mixture of whatever color you want to play with. And we can test this out. I have just a little scrap of watercolor paper here. Oh yeah, that's nice and dark. That's going to work great. And then we can add in our paint. We can get all sorts of really interesting effects. More water makes it more flowy, and we get those lovely kind of feathery edges. Isn't that fun? Love it. It's really great. You can move your paper around and get all sorts of different techniques. Woo! So it could be a very soft kind of variation from very dark to lighter. You can just have something very dark with beautiful feathery edges and that sort of thing. This is called wet in wet. We wet the paper, we put wet paint in, it expands out, we can move it around. This is great for creating skies, for creating foliage that we want to kind of a nice loose sort of wash of that. So there's wet in wet. When we're painting skies, for instance, we often want to make one nice big area of color. And this can be a little bit tricky, so it takes some practice. So I'm going to pick a beautiful ultramarine blue for a nice summertime sky. Yeah, that's lovely. So I'm going to make a bigger puddle of this paint than I think I'm going to need. Always make a little bit extra because we just want to make sure we've got enough paint, because it's very sad when you don't have enough paint. One little extra drippity doop. Okay. And then test it again. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, actually a little bit more water will be good. Okay. Beautiful blue sky day. We're going to start in the top left corner here, and we're just going to work our way down. And dip in, get some more, pick up. If I tilt my paper up just a little bit, then the water wants to roll down and make a nice, even sort of a wash. Okay? Isn't that fun? Notice that I'm picking up this little wet edge. If I were to let it dry like this, it would have a hard, crisp little edge like that. Maybe that's what you want, maybe not. So then we can just shoop, layer it in. And we've got the whole entire wash. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Okay. And maybe your beautiful summer sky has got some clouds in it. A little bit of tissue or a little bit of paper towel can help you lift out, while it's wet, some lovely cloud shapes. Isn't that cool? And then you can go back in and add a little more definition or whatnot. I always love making clouds like that. It's so fun. And ultramarine is a really fun cloud or sky color as well. So that's lifting out. Now, let's say that you want to make, you're maybe painting a stone, and it's kind of a mixture of colors. So let's say that it's, I don't know, kind of a blue-gray. I'm making a little, mixing a little blue with a little bit of burnt umber. So let's say we get this, can you tell I really love ultramarine blue? It's a great color. So let's just say that it's kind of bluish, and then we're going to pop in here and pick up the this burnt umber that I've mixed in with some of the blue, and we can just sort of go back and forth. Doesn't that look sort of like a stone? I love the earthy tones of burnt umber and ultramarine blue. They just are lovely together. So as long as you keep that wet edge going, you can sort of play in and out. And there you go. And you could even, let's say it's got a lighter patch, you could take your paper towel and lift out if you wanted to. Maybe that's where the sun's hitting it. So those are some fun things you can play with. Okay. Another really fun technique that I use a ton is called line and wash. I love line. I love drawing with my little fountain pen here. This is a Lamy Safari pen. It has permanent ink. So I sketch, I let it dry, and then I add a little splash of color here and there. And I'll show you an example of this from my nature journal. You can see just a few lines added to that October scene really add some contrast and tell the story. And I love doing that. I love the high contrast. It's a lot of fun. Adds a little texture. So here we have a little scene that I happen to see outside my window, I'm going to take my smaller, this is a number 6 round brush. I'm going to get a clean surface. This is the other use of these wonderful paper towels, is cleaning out your little wells that you're mixing paints in. I also keep pickle jar lids handy. They're good for this. So let's see, I think we've got a little kind of, got all sorts of different greens going on here. Kind of just lay my brush down and get some nifty little background greens, and maybe put in a little more shadowy green in the background. This is ultramarine blue mixed with some hooker's green, and hooker's green is just a more blue leaning green. You might have a different color, so, and so forth. So I'm just kind of playing around, throwing in some washes here. I've got some cool little flowers in there, and this is just a scene that I see out my window of my garden, and we're going to just slap in some color. So you can play around with, it's kind of like just a little sketch and a little splash of colors, and just have some fun with it. Maybe another little tree over here. We're gonna dip in and get some more shadowy tones and so forth. So you get the general idea. I'm gonna pop in here. There's some lovely little yellow flowers. Shoop. Just kind of dab them in. So you can just do a bit of sketching with your paintbrush, really. There we go. And do a little lifting and that sort of thing. And just have some fun. Okay, so you kind of get the idea here. Get some gray stones going on here, and we can do our variegated wash and tap in some other colors, so forth. Maybe this little stone is more yellowy, so I throw in some yellow ochre. So those stones are really fun to play with. You see how you can just sort of tap in some different colors and have a bit of fun with it. I'm going to say this little light out there is reflecting some sky. So we're gonna, like so, and we could play like this for hours and days, and we will play like this some more as we get closer to when our class arrives. So anyway, the line and the wash work together, the line giving definition and the wash adding some color. The last fun technique I want to share with you is I'm going to slap in just a little bit of water, and then let's get some more of that lovely ultramarine, and we're going to just make a little splishity splash of color, and maybe we're going to try a little purple down in here too, just for funs, because why not? Okay, just having a good time. And then get your table salt. It can be really any kind of salt. Rock salt does different things from table salt. And while it's wet, that's really important, we're going to sprinkle this in, and the action of the salt picks up or kind of attracts the water, sucks it up, and with it, the color. Now, one important bit about all of this is don't put your brushes in that salty stuff. It'll corrode the metal ferrules here, and your brush will not be happy. So anyway, we just have to let that sit and dry. And when it's dry, we rub it off. And we have this beautiful kind of snowflakey pattern. You never can tell what it's going to be like until you look at it. Everyone is different, and it depends on humidity and colors and all sorts of things. It's a fun thing you can add at the very end of a painting when you've got like a little backdrop or something, and so it's just fun to play with. All right, well, I hope you have fun with these techniques, and I look forward to painting with you in the future. So happy painting!